That was weird. Hello and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Chris with the CHRILLCAST, and today we're going to be talking about kind of a more general subject. We'll call it like a subject Sunday almost, and that subject is Sony and what I think Sony's biggest mistake or failure of the decade from 2010 to 2020. The thing that I think that they really failed to deliver on most, the product I really think that Sony let it die, like dead on arrival. Something that I think is valuable to a lot of people, but we'll get into it. All right. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and let's talk. So for those that don't know, this console right here, the PlayStation Vita, is one of my all-time favorite consoles. I'm gonna wipe off this screen here so it doesn't look horrible, but this is one of my favorite things Sony has ever released, the PlayStation Vita. It's a super powerful handheld from 2011, really only hampered by the controls lacking in R3, L3, and the second trigger. I mean, you can see the top of this thing. It's only got, the R and L, no R2, L2 beneath it, and the sticks, unlike the Switch, there's no press in on the sticks. So when you guys wanted to do R3, L3, games either implemented tapping the back screen here or the bottom screen there, and some games, especially in remote play, would have you tap the top corners or the bottom corners for L3, R3, and L2, R2. Not ideal, but definitely workable. There's a lot of cases and accessories you can get that make the PS Vita, especially the 2000 model, more satisfying to play your PlayStation 4 remote play, PS1 classics on this console. And there were a lot of workarounds. I mean, they managed to get an Uncharted game on here. Okay, but that's not the point of this video. You all know I love the PlayStation Vita. So when I found out that a console version of the PS Vita was coming out at some point, the PlayStation TV, I was super excited. This is like one of the coolest things, in my opinion, ever, is when a portable game gets consoleized. Not because I play it that often, but if I ever want to, having the ability to play my portable games on a TV, I mean, the Switch is ideal for this as well, is awesome. And knowing that I can do cloud saves my PS Vita and download them to my PSTV and continue playing from the console to the TV, man, that was a concept back then. That was a pretty awesome concept. This is before the Switch even came out. So what's so special about this console? You might be asking yourself, why do I like it so much? Well, it starts with the very hardware itself. This hardware right here has PlayStation Vita memory card, a USB port, can charge controllers, specifically DualShock 3 or 4, whatever you should choose. It has HDMI, although it only supports up to, I think, 1080i/720p at the top end of the range. With the PS Vita screen being like 544p, 720 is more than adequate for it. And then at the very end here, this is kind of important. You've got Ethernet, which means remote playing your PS4 with this on another TV in your house can be a good experience. That's pretty cool. And then at the very end here, you've got the barrel plug. It's, I believe, the same plug that the PSP 3000 model uses. I think it's a PSP style charging port. And then obviously down here, you've got the on-off switch right there. Yeah, you can kind of see it. But yeah, it just takes the same memory card that the Vita uses. 32 gig in that one right there. And you just pop that bad boy in there. And there's your memory storage. On the sides here, you've got nothing on this side. On the front, you've got the Sony logo of all things. It's usually not something you see on the front of a console. Usually it's like PlayStation or something along those lines. You got the generic PlayStation logo on the side here. On the back, you've got all your pertinent information about the PlayStation TV. And then on the back, not the back, the side here, you've got a full-blown PlayStation Vita. If I can get this thing down for you guys to see. PlayStation Vita cartridge slot. Which is awesome because any Vita game, allegedly, will fit in the slot of this thing. So for example, let's say I want to play Persona 4 Golden on my TV, not through Steam, on my, an actual console, not a computer. See, I've got my Persona 4 Golden cartridge right here, and I can just literally take it and plop it into the PlayStation TV. Boom. Now I can play Persona 4 Golden on my TV using this device. So that's a pretty cool utility when you think about it, because there are some exclusive games on the Vita. And unlike the PSP Go, I can still buy PSP games and play them on my TV here. So I have the entire portable Persona series collection on my PSP, PlayStation TV, my goodness. And I can play them all on a TV, which is really cool. PSP, so I can play PS1, PSP, PS Vita, and anything else that Sony makes compatible with the Vita library. So that's like one of the only consoles I've seen out there that'll play. I think it is the only console out there other than dev units of the PS Vita that will play PS Vita games on the TV. So why is this Sony's biggest failure from 2010 to 2020? Well, it was released originally in Japan on November 14, 2013, and it was launched in Europe and Australia in 2014. It was also released in the US 2015 timeframe. No, I'm sorry. So October 2014. So just before the Australia and European release. So they missed the US release altogether on here, but this console, unlike the PlayStation Vita and the PlayStation 4, there are no data, no sales records to really tell you how many of these sold. And when you've got a console like the Vita, which sold somewhere between, I think, 13 and 15 million units, and the PlayStation 4, which sold somewhere around 115 million units, we're probably hitting 120 here pretty soon. Having this one come out at the same generation as the Vita and the PS4 and having zero data on sales numbers tells me it didn't sell well. I mean, we're talking probably between 1, maybe 2 million worldwide sales of the Vita TV, the PlayStation TV. And part of the reason was a lack of communication by Sony. Sony didn't really explain what this thing could do. And they never really fully implemented Vita on the TV in the way that you would expect. I would have expected that in any game that you plug in, it would at least try to play it, but that's not the case. Like, for example, Uncharted Golden Abyss won't play at all, and it's not whitelisted. In fact, any game that can be played on here on the PlayStation TV needs to be whitelisted by Sony and the developer together to be cleared to play on this thing. And considering that from a hardware perspective, this sold between 1 and 2 million units, there's like very low incentive for devs to actually port games or clear games to be played on this system. I mean, it represents probably less than 5% of all Vita owners today. And the bulk of people that own this system, first thing they do is mod it. So where's the value in a developer to specifically put their game whitelisted for the PlayStation TV? Not to mention now that the Vita store is essentially no longer accepting new games anyways, that put a damper on all that now too. So I think one of the biggest issues you see is when you Google this thing, this comes up, PlayStation TV, this comes up, but also PlayStation's PS3 3D TV also comes up that, launched with the PS3. There's also the fact that in Japan, PlayStation TV was the PlayStation 3 retail kiosks from 2006-2014. It's a hard thing for Sony to really be like, hey, look, the PlayStation TV. I mean, it's a little box that basically is a Vita without the controls or the screen. I mean, these two things are essentially the same hardware, minus the controls and the screen. Same thing. Except this plays on your TV, and this is a portable console. And prior to the PlayStation TV release, this PlayStation Vita was originally developed with outputting to your TV in mind. This little port at the top of the PlayStation 1000 models, the PS Vita 1000, the fat model, this little port right here is similar to a digital camera port that was supposed to output to the TV. Unfortunately, if you actually find the cable that uses this style of connector and you actually hook it up, you end up breaking your Vita essentially. And that is certainly not worth it, because the Vita is a very worthwhile console to own and getting rarer by the day. And this exists, so you don't need to do that anyways. If you look up the whitelist for the PlayStation TV, it's clear that Sony did not ever consider this a mainstay of the PlayStation Vita hardware. And the fact that it only lasted approximately 1 year, and within that year it discounted from $100 down to like, I think 30 at the low point and like 50 at the midpoint. Clearly Sony released a product they were not sure about, they weren't ready to release, and they didn't know what they wanted it for. But if you wanted a cheap PS4 in a different room, this was your guy. If you wanted to play PS Vita games on a big screen, this was the guy. If you wanted to play PSP games and you didn't want to buy a new PSP with a output to your TV, this was your guy. Now, if you want to get really crazy though, probably the weirdest accessory, and this doesn't have a lot of accessories. There was like a mounting thing where you could mount it like this way on your TV stand. So like instead of having it sit flat and flush, it would sit up like this and kind of be like a Wii U style, like sideways dock. There was also this thing called the Dekavita Seven, which I like to bring up all the time. It's like one of the weirdest accessories I've ever seen, but it basically turns this into a giant PS Vita. I'll show you guys just because I don't think a lot of people know about this. Dekavita 7. Yep, here we go. So if you look at this, so this is the Dekavita 7. It absolutely dwarfs the PS Vita by far. And the way it works, you can see it on this picture here, is you take your PlayStation TV and you dock it in the back of this essentially screen controller that has R3 and L3, so it's basically a DualShock 3. And it's got a battery on board for powering up the PlayStation Vita TV, the PlayStation TV, and it projects it onto a giant 7-inch screen. So it gives you essentially a 7-inch PS Vita that can only play like 50%, we'll say, of the titles available on the PlayStation Vita. But still, you get a big screen Vita that's essentially like a portable TV with a controller attachment. I mean, it's basically what it is. I still think it's one of the weirdest and coolest accessories ever. But let's say you want to pick up something like this. Let's see. Just for fun. We'll go to eBay. And we'll to show you what these things cost. Yeah. All right, there's 1, 2, there's a bunch of them coming online now. There's 4 of them. Wow, I'm surprised. So here you go, Dekavita 7. If you want this combination of like a $150, $200 Vita console, plus essentially the Wii U for the PS Vita, you can pay about $1,000 and get one. So there's this one right here. There's one right here. There's about 4 of them available online right now. It was made by like a company, Game Tech, in Japan. Not the same Game Tech in the US that does like NES 8 high definition mods and stuff. Different Game Tech. It's Japanese Game Tech. But yeah, basically turns the PS Vita TV, the PlayStation TV, into a portable Wii U gamepad for off-screen play, but it doesn't require you to be connected to a console. But it's basically portable PlayStation TV, the most ridiculous accessory I've ever seen when there's already a portable PlayStation Vita and it plays all the games, not just some of them. But anyways, I digress. The reasons why the PlayStation TV, this console, failed were a lack of marketing, a lack of distinguishing features that separated it from the PlayStation branding of consoles, like all the different things that were out at the time. I mean, it was the PlayStation TV in the US, it was PlayStation Vita TV in Japan. It doesn't really explain itself as its own distinguished thing. It was a streaming device for PS4s, but it wasn't a streaming device for content. It didn't really have any Netflix, Hulu. I think it had Hulu. I think that was the only thing other than maybe Crackle. So like it had very few streaming services. So if you're looking at this or an Apple TV, you're probably getting an Apple TV. I mean, I don't know why you would pick this over an Apple TV unless you love the Vita like I do. So between that and the lack of compatibility with the entire Vita library, I mean, this thing was kind of doomed on arrival. The good news is the hacking community has made this a extremely easy console to get other games onto, to open up to the entire Vita library, at least to try. So you can play like Uncharted Golden Abyss and then move your save file to a portable console like the Vita whenever you need to, go back to it. But the hacking community has really added the features that Sony refused to this device and added a new life to it. And I think that's a really awesome thing that comes with some of these hacking communities, because obviously a lot of people get into the hacking communities for the ability to play games they don't actually own. But if you're using it specifically for like whitelisting games that aren't originally allowed to be played on the PlayStation TV, I think that's a really awesome benefit of getting the homebrew going. Now, I have not homebrewed either my PlayStation TV or my PS Vita, but when the stores officially close down, I may be tempted to, just to get those extra features added on to my existing consoles. In the meantime, though, these remain to be very expensive pieces of hardware for what it is, and I don't know that I would recommend anybody go buy one. Let's see what the price is here. PlayStation TV. Yeah, I mean, these things are still pushing pretty good numbers. You're looking at $200 right there with a 16 gig memory card. You're looking at $175. This one's starting at $50, but it's a auction. No memory card, $160. Yeah, these are still pretty expensive devices for what they are. So I don't think I can recommend you go get one unless you can find a good price on it, or if you're extremely into the Vita like I am and you want the ability to stream or play on the TV. Then you could go get one of these, and I would not say it's a bad investment. Like Spencer, a Super Vita owner like me, Spencer Presley should go get one of these for himself if he doesn't have one already. But in the meantime, it remains a pretty cool part of Sony's history, especially given that this is the least successful thing that they've released in the past decade. Especially against this, which only sold around 13 to 15 million sales, and this sold probably 1 to 2 tops. Nobody really knows the number, but I'm going to guess 1 to 2. Anyways, what do you guys think? Is this a cool thing to have, to own, to play with? Or is it kind of just a historical piece at this point? What are your thoughts? Make sure you guys comment down below. Let me know. Do you like this style of commentary on an old piece of tech? Should I do more of these? Should I do less of these? As always, like and subscribe, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye, guys.